So right now, welcoming in one of my favorite people, my guy, Alec Campbell from 99.9, The Fan in Raleigh, North Carolina. Not quite Charlotte, but close enough, right, Alec?
Yeah, 2.5 hours, not far.
What's the name of the show you produce up there so the people can holler at you?
It is the Adam and Joe Show.
Adam and Joe Show.
3 to 7, Monday through Friday, 99.9 The Fan.
Yeah, Alec's the third voice and producer of that show. And so I told the people that you guys just got off the air. 7 o'clock, you guys just got off the air. Probably took a bunch of calls about Cam Newton and the Super Bowl. And I want to first and foremost just kind of get the temperature, kind of gauge the temperature of the people locally. I mean, we hear all the stuff on ESPN and Fox Sports, the stuff that's going on nationally. But what is the temperature like locally?
Yeah, actually, we took more calls than we normally do. We don't really take a ton of calls, which I like.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Screw the callers.
Yeah. I don't think you'll be shocked by the answer to that question because, but people were, I think, a little bit more tempered than I was expecting them to be. I listened to some of the Charlotte radio this morning, and then just via our show on some of the other shows on our station. I mean, people were. You're talking about the postgame, right?
In general, everything. The way he played, the way the postgame went.
I think people were not displeased with the way he played. A lot of people were making comments like, he looked tight or whatever. But, my stance on that is, when people are losing, generally they look tight or uninterested or no heart or whatever.
But didn't you feel that way from like the beginning? Just like some of the overthrows, the ball handling mistakes, it just seemed like it wasn't that same fun-loving, loose team from the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to say that that's not the case, but often it's overvalued, I think. But yeah, they never were able to really settle in. And they never seem to be, right, like you say, as the loose bunch that they have been all year. And it's funny you bring up the first overthrow on that, 15-yard out he threw to Philly Brown or whatever, and he just airmailed it. And, looking back on it now, it kind of foreshadowed the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was kind of just, maybe just an adrenaline throw.
That's what I thought.
First throw of the game, and Cam Newton's, he's known for throwing high as it is, right? So when he misses. So the first time it's just like, okay, get it out of your system, whatever. But in the end, it kind of did foreshadow what the rest of the game, how the rest of the game went. But, I mean, although I didn't think he played that bad. I thought everyone around him played bad. I thought they had a couple of bad exchanges. I kind of wish that he would have gotten out on the run a little bit more often. Yeah. But look, man, he didn't elude any tackles either. Normally he gets away from 2 or 3 of them, and he didn't get away from anybody last night. And you got to credit the Denver defense. I mean, they were unreal.
Yeah, because what it felt like was like Denver had already rented a certain amount of space. The defense had already rented a certain amount of space in the collective minds of the Panthers offense. And when I say that, like you mentioned the first overthrow and thinking initially that may just be adrenaline, the game in and of itself. But when you see the other things, it was almost like they were sped up more than they are usually sped up as far as the ball handling on the zone reads, the throws. Everything was kind of sped up as though they were already thinking this defense is a lot faster than the ones we've already faced. We've got to do things at a different pace. And that ended up hurting them in the end.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I mean, I also would have liked to have seen some more designed runs where they called Cam's number a little bit more. But, I also wonder how much of that is predicated on their ability to run the ball traditionally to begin with.
Right.
How much of that is set up by that. And they didn't run the ball that well. So, I wonder if in Mike Schuler's mind he said, okay, we're not running the ball very well, so we're not going to call Cam's number because we haven't shown them anything. They're not threatened by it right now.
I felt like they should have tested DeMarcus Ware a little bit in the run game.
I kind of wish they would have run, was just talking about this with somebody else. Maybe gone to the screen game a little bit more.
Slow them pass rushers
you know, down. Yeah. They had to do something. They didn't. That's the thing. They didn't really do anything to neutralize the pass rush. They couldn't do anything effectively. And I mean, look, that's what Denver. That's the way they were going to win.
And there were times where Cam held the ball way too long, in my opinion.
Way too long.
It was almost as though he didn't play with the same amount of confidence in his receiver's ability to get that separation. So he was doing that thing where the quarterback will hold the football until he knows he's open. And by that time, against a defense like that, it's way too late.
Yeah, we've heard some of that too today, no doubt about it. But I mean, they also didn't give him much reason to be confident in them either.
Well,
they dropped
that.
They dropped so many damn passes last night. It was unbelievable.
But here's the thing, though. All year long, we've got to understand, and I want to get your opinion on this. Can we now kind of, in hindsight, well, not really hindsight. I mean, I mentioned this a couple of shows ago about the Panthers. Maybe just kind of circumstances falling their way. Like when you look at their schedule, you're looking at them. They've got the NFC South. That's their schedule. They've got the NFC East this year, and they've got the AFC South. Those are some crappy-ass divisions, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if there was a team that was going to threaten go undefeated, it would be the team that played those three divisions. And so now in the final game, you realize, oh, damn, it is Philly Brown. It is Ted Ginn Jr. It is Jericho Cotchery. You know what I mean? You kind of realize that, it is these guys all along.
Yeah, I know, but I think at the same time, we also, all year long, we're going, man, these guys have really done a great job. So I don't want to go both ways on it. You know what I'm saying? And also, I think in the end, when you look at championship teams, one thing that they have in common is you got to make lemonade somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Like, because you're not going to go out and sign, 5 Kelvin Benjamins. That's just not feasible. So the good teams, you saw with the Seahawks a couple of years ago. You remember me and you talking about how many guys they ran throughout the season?
Oh, yeah.
As far as, like, bringing guys in and out. I mean, they turned every single rock over to find people, and they made guys, and they found guys that were going to get the job done that they didn't have to pay. So I think most championship teams have that type of makeup where they make lemonade out of some of these dudes. And, I mean, they were able to do that. I mean, and the other thing is, look, I mean, you look at the one stretch they had where I think they played the Seahawks on the road and came back and won. They beat the Packers at home, and I forget the other team that was in that stretch too. But it was a 3-week span where they played 3 really good teams and won. And so look, they can only play the games that are given to them.
This is true.
And you're right that, and people have said that all year about the Panthers. Look at the schedule they play. But then they got into the playoffs, and they ran straight. They ran all over people in the first half of the game. So I don't know how much stock I put in that. I really think that they just picked a bad day
to have the worst game. Yeah, to have their worst game.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is it was against the Broncos, who did the same thing 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
So
and worse. They did it worse, actually.
Yeah, and they did it worse. And so you know what that means, Mike, right? By osmosis, that means the Panthers win the Super Bowl in 2 years.
You're an idiot. I'm talking to Alec Campbell from 99.9 The Fan in Raleigh.
Overall,
he's the producer of the Adam and Joe Show. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So the other thing, though, is that, I think overall, I don't think, just to circle back around and answer the original question, I don't think people were that upset with Cam Newton. I think, at least from a game standpoint, I think they were much more upset with the drop passes, the penalties. They had 6 procedure penalties. They had a delay a game penalty. Guys not making plays. What else they had? They had Trey Turner at a dumb, after the play.
Personal foul.
Personal foul.
Yeah.
I think Mike Tolbert hasn't fumbled all year. He fumbled twice last year. Luckily got one back. Last night, Luckily got one back. One of the few good runs they had, Mike Tolbert fumbled the ball. They had a special teams play that they somehow got fooled by a fake fair catch or thought the guy fair caught it and whatever.
Cat went 61 yards on him. Let me
it's a tip drill interception.
Let's switch gears real quick to the post game. Now, the title of this episode is They Don't Know. They just don't know. And in particular, what I'm talking about when it comes to Cam Newton, because everyone's had their opinion today about the way he conducted the post-game interview. And for those of you who don't know, if you don't pay attention to the post-game stuff when the game is over, Cam was very melancholy. He was described as pouting during the post-game, and he gave a bunch of sulking, giving a bunch of one-word answers, and very, very dejected after the loss. Personally, it's one of the things that I particularly like about him, the fact that he wins hard and he loses just as, and I think the great ones have that in them. Like it's just a matter of the fact that he outwardly expresses it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the one thing that I especially want to talk to you about, because you're my guy. Like when we talk about like black and white relations, you and I have a bunch of like open conversations about these things. And I appreciate you for it. And I tell you that all the time. That the thing that wasn't brought up today is that there's something else behind Cam Newton's reaction to me. That feeling of not just letting his teammates down, not just letting himself down, not just letting his city down, but letting down a culture. You know, this is a dude where dudes like Young Jeezy and Mike Epps and 2 Chainz is coming to the game to see him. Like, people look at Cam as the kid from the neighborhood that made it, and he's still representing. You know what I mean? He's not Russell Wilson, as a lot of people tried to say today. Like, look at the way Russell Wilson handled his interception. 2 totally different animals.
Saying that.
Yeah, two totally different animals. So I want to ask you from a white guy's perspective, had that concept ever entered your mind that may be a part of the level of disappointment that it seems like he's experiencing?
Yeah, no, that honestly didn't enter my mind today as far as him letting down a culture. Like, I just thought that he's just a guy who takes losses really hard. I don't think that he's to me, this doesn't make him a bad guy at all. You know, like, I think the two things are mutually exclusive. Like, he had a bad game. He didn't want to talk about it. First of all, he's fatigued from the media already. You could see him getting more and more fatigued as Super Bowl week went on. So the loss definitely didn't help. I kind of wonder if he was worried about what his emotion would make him say about other people, and maybe it was a more calculated move by him than we think it is.
The walking off the stage, you mean?
In terms of him saying, like, look, if I sit up here and start talking, I'm going to say something that's going to be a bigger problem, you know? But, I just, look, I think that you can't bring up the stuff that he brought up and then leave and then not expect people to talk about it today. You know what I'm saying? Then walk out the stage and be able to talk about it today. They're going to talk about you for doing that.
Right.
Whether you're right or wrong, they're going to give you crap for it. I think one of the funnier things I heard today was I heard Deion Sanders on First Take last week.
Oh, two bad decisions.
Because they were talking about. Yeah, I know. You're right. I don't even know why I was listening, but I did. But it was after Cam made his comments about being an African American and people don't. It's something that they haven't seen before. And Deion was saying, well, look, man, because everybody wanted to pigeonhole him as this is what Brady would do and this is what Manning would do. You wouldn't see them dancing and dabbing and whatever, and Deion was like, look, he's not Brady and he's not Manning. But then today he's going, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning wouldn't have walked off that stage.
Can't have it both ways.
And it's like, yeah, you can't have it both ways, brother.
It's a total package. I mean? Like, if you're gonna praise him for being who he is, allow him to be who he is all the time.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Look, I like Cam. I think Cam is he's the next superstar of the league, if he's not already. I mean, I like the fact that he gets out there and has a good time. I think the problem that people have with him more than anything is that his on-field demeanor is kind of a departure from the guy he really is. Like, I think Cam's a really smart dude. Mm-hmm. He's a really philanthropic dude. He's good with kids. I think he's a good all-around dude. Like, he's a good dad. He's a good boyfriend or fiance or whatever he is to his woman right now. From all that you can tell. So then when you see a guy get on the field and dance and celebrate and do all that stuff, it's kind of like why relationships end up breaking up all the time. Because all of a sudden, somebody ain't who they said they were. Like all of a sudden somebody wants to be a swinger, and old girl wasn't really ready for that.
There we go. Into the old Alec Campbell playbook with that one.
Yeah. So then, you see a guy who's like a really philanthropic, really smart dude get on the field and get ratchet, and people are like, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
But I think that's more of people's problems and understanding that. I call it the athlete bubble. Like, we always want to put our athletes in these bubbles, even athletes like Peyton Manning. Like, Peyton Manning is washed up. But people always want to say stuff like, oh, the Peyton of old, you ain't seen that in 2 years. Stop. I don't give a damn if he completes an out route. It still was wobbly, and it took an hour to get there. Yeah. You're not going to see that no more. But what we do mentally is we put these athletes in these bubbles, and we try to keep them preserved as the person we always knew them to be. And the same thing with Cam Newton. We want to make him, or people want to make him be what they think he should be. Because I said it the other day.
Well, they've already defined what a quarterback should be,
and he got them fooled.
You know what I mean?
Because this ain't Mike Vick with dreads, with braids and tattoos. This is a dude who wears like thousands of dollars suits with his clean cut face, no earrings, no tattoos. It's like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be that guy on the field, but look like that.
Right.
And he's right. It's a different animal, and people right now still don't know how to approach it. Now, let me address something that you said just a few seconds ago, as we got a couple minutes left here with my guy Alec Campbell from 99.9, the fan in Raleigh, producer of the Adam and Joe show. Is that right?
Yeah.
Adam and Joe show. Now, you mentioned that Cam was going to be the next superstar. Here's what I kind of cautioned the people. One of the things I cautioned the people on a couple of episodes ago was that there once was a guy named Colin Kaepernick. And one of the things that was said about him, the big, strong, fast guy, and his team had the most complex run game in the league. Remember that? And then there was an offseason. Yeah. And the people who get paid to figure this stuff out, they figure that stuff out. And I'm always wondering, then what's the next evolution for Cam Newton? Because, the run game is very complex. And it's hard to adjust to certain things during the season for guys when you have a couple of days to prepare for a team and put together a game plan. But down in New Orleans, right here in Atlanta, in Tampa, guys are going to be working tirelessly to find the key that opens that door to solving the riddle, which is the Panthers' run game, which means that Cam Newton has to do what the other great ones do, stay a step ahead. Okay, you caught me to this point, but watch the next thing I do. And watch the next thing I do. And I'm asking you as a guy who's in the area, is this something that's being talked about? Or is it just an assumption that this team and this quarterback is built to continuously do what they do for quite some time?
Well, I mean, I think that the one thing that we've been talking about a lot throughout the season is the progression that Cam has made as a passer. Mm-hmm. I mean, those of us that get to watch him week in and week out, it's very easy to see that. So I think that while a lot of people see the highlight plays and they see the running game, really the offense is really a tough thing to stop because they can do everything pretty well.
Right.
I mean, Cam Newton's become a much better passer. He's gotten a lot more freedom to make adjustments. And he's shown the ability to do that. I wouldn't say he's still he's great mechanically. You still see him throwing off the back foot a lot, whatever. But he has become more accurate. You see him looking off safety. All those things, sight adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
All those things that people talk about that make, the quarterback the quarterback. You know what I mean? So I think from that standpoint, they're going to, as long as Cam can continue to be diligent in that area. Look, we all know he's going to be a runner. He's an elusive guy, he's a big dude.
Right.
He's as athletic as they come. I mean, dude, I've said this to you before. He's 6'5", 240 or whatever playing football. LeBron James 6'8", 250 playing basketball is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, he's gonna run with the football. He's gonna escape tackles, but what has separated him this year from years past is the ability in the passing game. So I think as long as he stays diligent there, that they'll be able to stay ahead of the curve in terms of what other teams are able to learn about them and make adjustments for them.
No doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Alec Campbell. He is the producer of the Adam and Joe Show on 99.9. The Fan in Raleigh, being kind enough to join his boy and help me out tonight, give me some perspective on all the things that's going on with the Carolina Panthers as they lose the Super Bowl 24-10 to the Denver Broncos yesterday. Alec, as usual, my man, appreciate you looking out. And, I'll holler at you.
I appreciate you, Mike.